My Gaming Edge.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's CB with My Gaming Edge, and I'm here with Sigma. What's up, Sigma?
Hey, how's it going?
And today we're going to be reviewing a medic demo from Linkay. He currently plays for the ESEA Open team iCarly fan club. And we're going to be reviewing the first two rounds of his demo because it's a lot of the same that we wanted to talk about and critique, and we'll take it from here. We're going to unpause. And the first thing that Sigma and I notice here is that they don't have a soldier who is equalizing. We do see a soldier that is quite a bit ahead of the combo, but he's not equalizing. It's so important that you have that soldier equalizing so you can get both of your soldiers up to 300 health before they leave the garage. So here it works out for him, but I think we'll see in the next round that it doesn't. One thing, Sigma, I notice here, it's very crucial, is that Linkay sits back in this left-hand corner. And Sigma, if you want to talk a little bit about this, why it's so crucial that not only you as a medic, but the rest of your team get a little more aggressive at middle and you don't get stuck in this left-hand corner.
Yeah, well, basically what happens as a medic or as a player coming into Granary mid is it feels like you're safe when you're sitting in this corner because there's no line of sight to the point. You can't see the enemy combo, so it feels like you can just sit here and do damage, and if they push across point, you're going to get damage on them and you're going to win. But that's not the case because the soldier can easily just jump right over those boxes and land on your face and kill your medic. And there's nothing you can do to dodge because he's in the smallest area ever. He can't reasonably get back outside of mid. He'd pretty much just be screwed. So if the other team pushes point and starts jumping your boxes and you're still in corner, your position is way worse than them. So you have to not let them do that and you have to be pushing point yourself to get damage on their health and put pressure on where their medic is holding.
Right, and now this is sort of relates to the old style of TF2 and what teams used to do in the past. One thing we're talking about is this may work in the open leagues, but if you want to advance to intermediate and invite, these sort of tactics won't work any longer. So it's just something that we think Linkay can work on, and the rest of his team is really getting out of this left-hand corner and pushing to the point. So we're going to go ahead and resume, and we can take a look that Linkay is still sitting in this left-hand corner. There's a little bit of trading going on between teammates on his team and the opposing team, but they are, it looks like, 3 down at this point, so they start to back out. His pocket soldier is really weak, and he does not elect to pop Uber, which is actually something I like here. And now they're going to go back in. This is an interesting play. I'm not sure if I personally would do it, but we can see how it works out. The point is not capped. Linkay barely gets the Uber off, and the opposing team pops Uber as well. And they're trading their Uber, so it's important that Linkay stays on his pocket soldier for as long as he can, which he does. Backs up to the health pack, but again, he's stuck in this left-hand corner, so getting bombed by a soldier or a demo man is very, very easy for the opposing team. It looks like it's going to work out for him in this case, but it's just something that he needs to work on, is remember not to sit in that left-hand corner whenever possible. So here we see his team did win the midpoint, and the other team is, I believe, 2 to 3 down at this point. So I would expect them to be moving up as quickly as possible. Here we do see them moving up. And another thing that Sigma and I wanted to talk about here is the fact that this team keeps their both soldiers together. So again, it relates sort of to the old style of Team Fortress 2 competitive play, where you had both soldiers sticking with the medic and the demo with the scouts. But the way things kind of work nowadays, and has been proven to work most effectively, is if you keep your demo man with your pocket soldier and medic. So here in just a short, probably about a minute or so, not even 30 seconds, you'll see Linkay move over to the left-hand side with his soldier, his pocket soldier. And we'll also see his roaming soldier move over with him and stay close to the other soldier. And Sigma, why don't you talk a little bit about why that is not the best way to go about things?
Like CB said, in the start of TF2, people kept both soldiers with the medic because, hey, 300 health is good, right? And the demo was the old flanking class. You just try to get picks on scouts, off traps, and whatever. But when you think about it, a demo man is really terrible at fighting people on the flank. Like a scout running at him, what are you going to do? Hope to get 2 lucky pipes? That's all you can do. Whereas a roaming soldier can actually contribute, chips of damage against scouts reliably, and he can work with the scouts well. And at the same time, the demo is so good at putting mid-range damage out onto clustered or slow classes like the other demo or the soldier. Putting the demo not with the combo is just a huge waste.
Exactly, and that's what we're going to see here, especially not only in this push, but for the rest of the round, and especially in the second round when Sigma takes over. We're going to see how the roaming soldier sticking with the pocket soldier really sort of hurts the team in certain situations. And we can see that the team leaves their demo man alone on the right. There aren't any scouts with him, and we can see both soldiers and scouts on the left. So this is dangerous for the demo man. Also, it's important to note that Linkay is not keeping them or moving the medic beam to buff the scouts, and it only takes half a second to buff those scouts, so that's really crucial and something you need to note. So I like the fact that they're pushing in here. Sigma and I both talked about we like this fact. Pushing in the left and sort of catching him off guard, and it does seem to work here. But mistake the team makes here, and particularly Linkay and his pocket soldiers, now that the team is down 3, they need to be moving, and they're taking their time. They're not moving up aggressively and clearing out the top and clearing out whatever, random scouts are running around or anything like that. And they're just not moving quick enough to secure the second point. They are going to get the second point, but the other team at this point is 3 down. And this is something that Sigma and I also talked about, is that they need to move. As a team right here, although they don't have Uber, they need to move. And you'll see that Tiger gets another pick here, coming up right now. There's his pick. And another pick from the scout. So now, especially, even though they don't have Uber, it's so important that the team moves 6 versus 4. Their health is good. They have their buffs. And they're going to wait. They're still going to wait on Uber. So this is something that I would definitely be calling out to my team. Let's move right now. We don't need to wait. Although we don't have Uber, if they're 4 up and we're 6 up, it's so crucial that they move. And you can see here they wait for their sniper pick, and all this works out for them. But Sigma and I are just trying to help, saying down the road things that Linkay and the rest of his team can work on. So, they're going to go ahead and win this round. Sigma, if you want to start taking over as this round winds down.
Yeah, so pretty much there's the cleanup there. I mean, that push ended up coming in before the enemy team got Uber, so it still worked, but they could have easily won that round a minute ago, and that kind of thing can matter when you're playing against the clock in a high-stakes match. So as we come out into the second rollout to mid here, we still see there's no soldier equalizing, and last time, by chance, they ended up doing the old style rollout before equalizer was in the game, where you could still get both soldiers to mid at 300. It's much more difficult, but here they fail at it, and now they have like 200 health. So that's already as if they've taken a direct rocket as both soldiers come into mid. And I'd like to just pause it here and comment on what just happened there as we went into the mid. Again, like in the first mid, they just sat in corner with their combo and didn't move to take any presence on point, which is bad. And also, a soldier came flying through and landed on his head. And one thing that people don't realize, are new to Granary competitively, is that Granary mid, it's all about getting out of that corner. And if you're playing behind the box, if you're stuck in corner for some reason, or if you're moving up left side, as a medic, you need to be looking up constantly, because you're not going to get attacked from through the box. When a jumping soldier is coming, he's going to come in through really high and above his vision. So the medic didn't even really notice that soldier was there, and as a result, he took a direct rocket and should have died if the soldier had managed to hit the shot. Basically, 2 mistakes there. Is not moving out of the corner and then not looking up to see the jumping soldier. So let's just move back into this mid fight here. Oh, and then he dies to a rocket immediately. So that was a result of just not having the tightest movement he could. He swung wide out on that corner when there was no reason to. And as a result, he gave the soldier an angle on him for way too long and died to a random spam rocket, which is really unfortunate for his team. And that's really showing you the rough side of playing medic in competitive TF2. Like a small mistake, like stepping to the left rather than stepping to the right, means his team is now at a huge disadvantage in this round, and he could have easily had Uber and been at full health in yard right now. So a scout goes down on blue, not trying to make a play or something, who knows. But here, they start to move out to yard, and they see the enemy Uber coming in. And the decision to move out to yard there is really questionable. You can safely peek the yard if you're sitting right at the garage door and just spamming across to see if the combo is going to the other side on you, or see if some sort of shenanigans are going on, somebody pushing up fast. But moving way far out into yard like that with their demo out in the middle of yard and a soldier on the box is pretty suicidal. You're at least going to take a whole bunch of damage if the enemy team has Uber and they just pop into you, because it's hard to get back through the door since the entrance is small. If you get juggled at all, you're stuck above the door and you're going to die. And that's what happened to their demo. The soldier got got out luckily, and the medic wasn't even with them yet, so a bit of a mismatched call coming into the yard there, and just basically a bad time to hold it. You do not want to be close to them when they have Uber and you don't. But let's see how they play it out from here. So now they're demoed down, but at least the enemy Uber is gone, so they have a reasonable chance of holding this 2-point. And they have the roaming soldier with the combo again, and now they're moving everybody over to the right side to engage these few people in garage. And I'll just point out that if the roaming soldier was watching garage as those people came in, they wouldn't have had to make this a DM fight. It would have been very simple, straight up. The roaming soldier spams them away. The medic doesn't have to expose himself running across the point, and that would pretty much be that. Like, with a roaming soldier and a scout, you can easily deter that side, but instead their combo is roaming, and there's really nothing stopping the enemy combo from just walking wherever they want right now, because for some reason their combo is flanking. But they do have Uber advantage, so they're taking yard with it. But that's, well, other than the fact that they just killed 2 people, that was all they were going to get, but they just killed 2 people, including the enemy demo. So now we're running into mid here, and there's an enemy heavy. I'll let CB talk about maybe the correct way to engage an enemy heavy when both teams have Uber.
Well, I don't know if there's really a correct way to do it, but the thing that surprised Sigma and I was the fact that there was a heavy on Granary here. It's not something that you're going to see too often, at least in the matches that Sigma and I are familiar with. But the thing that they do correctly here is, once again, the good thing about this Uber is that Linkay keeps it on Tiger. So although the enemy team did kill 2 of their members, somehow they end up coming out on top of this mid fight. And I'm not really sure why the enemy team starts to back out, because we're going to see maybe 1 or 2 deaths from the red team, but their combo, I believe, stays alive. So the interesting thing is the enemy combo retreats and allows Linkay and his team to secure the midpoint.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Already on this position, we can see that it's going badly for the blue team. They've already lost a couple players in this push, and they're going to lose a few more to this heavy before the Uber ends. So we'll just unpause it and watch it pan out as CB said. So the Uber stays on the pocket the entire time, but everybody dies to the heavy, and that's all they kill. And then we see the medic. Oh, I guess the medic actually did die there. So that's perhaps why they back out. But
right.
They had the medic and both soldiers that could have easily just come in and engaged the pocket and medic, but they decided not to. And the demo's even with them. So, the blue team getting kind of a gifted mid with a miss position from the other combo. And now they're trying to edge in yard, looks like. And that's right there, quickly, if you noticed, where the soldier jumped behind the medic and the medic kind of jumped forward towards the right side, is exactly the kind of mistake that can cause you to lose a round. If somebody had peeked right there, right then, the medic would have died. And, like, that's a really stupid way to die. So, he didn't get exploited on that hole, but having holes like that just gives opportunities for the other team to roll over you. Now, they are peeking with the demo and the combo at the same time, finally, but the roaming soldier's still there, so they can't get through that door quickly thanks to the enemy pipe spam, and now they take their combo through. Don't get forced by the other team, because they do have Uber advantage coming to this yard, and then the medic kind of pops because he's nervous there. Didn't really have any pressure on him, but he pops, and they don't manage to do too much with the Uber as a result. And now, I'll just comment that of all the times to pull a sniper out, this is perhaps one of the most inappropriate, because it's so difficult to peek in on the second point from outside in yard. Maybe a decent choice to hold yard or make a comeback if you need some kind of clutch play done and a surprise medic pick to take the wind out of the enemy's sails. But right there, they were rolling in through yard with the Uber advantage, and a scout to clean up on that pop might have enabled them to push this forward to 2, but instead they had a sniper who pretty much tried for an unlikely shot and then ended up dying to a Kritzkrieg. So questionable time to off class here. That's something they could improve on, is just picking a better time to switch into the weird classes rather than just, rolling a die when you spawn and
yeah, especially the fact that he knew his team was going to be pushing with Uber there, and they did have their team already in yard, I assume, or pretty close when the scout had spawned sniper. And when your team's pushing, especially in Granary, like you said, it's so flat, such close corridors, that the sniper there pushing in after you popped Uber is going to be so much less effective than if you have a scout running around doing cleanup damage, maybe getting upstairs inside lunchbox, doing stuff like that, running around freely. So I think it was pretty poor decision to go sniper there as well.
So now let's get back into the game here. So now here, the medic makes a smart play and backs up, because they were getting crits on, and almost everybody from his team is dead, just the pocket's still up. Now he waits on mid here for a bit, which I think is a really bad idea because the other team has, I think, at least 4 or 5 people still up, and it's just the pocket and him now wandering around mid. They don't have proper eyes on every door, so at any time a soldier could jump on this combo and would be followed up by enough of his team to just totally roll over this. And I'll also notice that while we're reviewing a medics demo here, we're also seeing a lot of what the pocket's doing, and the pocket is just kind of walking around mid, not holding anywhere specific, and as a result the medic's beam is breaking a lot, which is pretty bad considering the other team has crits. You really need to build that Uber as fast as possible. Breaking line of sight by going behind boxes and just wandering around is not really the best way to do it. But they get the Uber uneventfully. Medic gets popped by the roaming soldier, and here comes the Uber into yard. They get a few frags before it, but they're going to have to watch out for this crits coming back on them, and apparently a scout coming from the flank on them. But now, the enemy team has crits right now, so having 4 people together like this is a recipe for disaster. Luckily for them, the soldier comes out with the crits and misses everything, so they're able to get through there, but that was a hole in the play. Was they thought they had yard, but they kind of didn't pay attention to the Uber situation and opened themselves up to get put into a frag video full of crit rockets, like the old reptile one. So now we have a push on last, which is overwhelmingly in their favor because of the kills they had got on that exchange where the crits went poorly for the other team. So they take the point, and I'll just point out that unlike the previous round where they waited for Uber for forever before pushing, they pushed that without Uber. They pushed it just off of the momentum advantage, and they absolutely rolled through and took the round quickly. So that's the kind of decisive play that lets you win matches, just rolling through teams and not letting them get a chance to get their feet under themselves, not letting them get a chance to regroup, taking the momentum you have and pushing it right over them.
And now let's talk a little bit about both those rounds together and some of the things we noticed. I'm going to go ahead and say Linkay definitely has work to do. He is an open medic, and he submitted this demo so we can point out things he needs to work on and do better. Some of the things he does well, he didn't drop any Uber Sigma, so we always like to see that. And he kept the Uber on the pocket soldier for the entire Uber almost. So when you have a team who's trading Uber a lot, and it's running out a lot quicker, and you're able to keep it on that one pocket, then that always, helps your team win fights, or can attribute to your team winning fights in certain situations. Some of the things personally I noticed he needed to work on, and you as well, was just be more aware. Game awareness, I think, is the number one thing that most low, open, even some intermediate medics struggle with, is just being aware of the game flow, the situation, how many people are down for both teams, that sort of thing, and just making note of it to yourself and to the rest of your team. Also, assigning certain spots for your team, making sure your roaming soldiers sticking with your scouts, making sure that your demo and pocket are holding a certain area while your scouts and roamer are doing something else, and just not having to worry, is there a leak over on the right hand side, is someone coming in the left without it being unwatched or something like that. And also, one major thing that we noticed that Linkay was struggling with was the fact that he did not look up at middle. And on Granary, there's nothing more important than getting out of the left-hand corner and looking up, because you have those soldiers who have that height advantage, the demo who have the height advantage, and even the scouts can get up there at times as well. So those are the main things I think that Linkay needs to work on, and the rest of his team too. Anything else you have to add, Sigma?
One thing that we did notice is, like what CB was saying about how to hold mid, it's really important as a medic to watch the professional medics and learn the important spots to stand in when holding a point. On point 2, sometimes Linkay would be standing in front of the pillars when holding his second, and that is a spot that opens you up to get juggled and killed, or forced on an Uber that you don't want to get forced on, when you could just be behind, healing in equal range, and be perfectly safe. Or that time on mid where he's just wandering around with his pocket and they're not actually protected from somebody just coming in on the door on them. Taking notes on how you're supposed to hold far enough back but close enough so you watch the door and have your medic safe from some sort of random peek that could just come out. Because teams can just decide to do that, especially when you're at any kind of numbers disadvantage. They could just come in any time and you need to be ready for it. And the other thing I wanted to point out real quick was, I don't think we saw it too much in these rounds, but Linkay had a habit of sometimes buffing a scout, but only buffing him to 140 or 150 health. And that I don't like to see too much. It's a hard habit to break is just the feeling you want to switch the beam around a lot and feel like you're doing a lot, but every time you switch your healing beam, you lose 0.25% of your Uber and you lose 3 health off your team. So you want to avoid it as much as possible. And also, when you buff a scout, you want to take him all the way to 185 because it's less than a second if he has crit heals to do that, and then he can actually get somewhere and then still have a buff to do something with. Because if he's only at 150 health, in the time he's running away from your medic and running back to the position that he was supposed to be in, that's decayed to be only like a 5 health buff and it's gone immediately. So just putting longer, more lasting buffs on your team gives you Uber faster and makes you have higher health overall. So that's something just to mentally note and try to work on over time.
Well said, my man. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate Linkay for submitting his demo. And once again, if you guys are interested in submitting your demo to be reviewed, can't guarantee that it will be reviewed through video, but we will make an attempt to review it and post our comments and thoughts on the forums. There's a thread right there that says review my demo. So go ahead and post that up if you have an interesting demo from a match or a good scrim that you wanted to be reviewed. This has been CB and Sigma for MyGamingEdge.com. Take care, guys.
See ya.